Hello my students. Today's our topic is biological rhythms. As the topic says, biological rhythms means some kind of cyclic activity that is related to the life or biology or life. In this lesson, we will learn what is chronobiology or chronology. I will also discuss ethology, very short discussion, so that you can understand what is ethology and what is chronology. Under this chronology, we will discuss biological rhythm. What is biological rhythm? Or we can say the biological cycles. Under these biological cycles, we will also discuss classifications of these biological cycles or biorhythms. Let me start. What is ethology? As we have discussed in our first class, what is ethology? It is the scientific study of how animals behave, particularly in their natural environment, with respect to some natural factors. So the founders of ethology are Carl von Fritsch, Konrad Lorenz, and Nicholas Steenbergen, who won the Nobel Prize in 1973. They are the pioneer of ethology. As I told you, ethology is the behavior of animals, particularly in their natural environment. They have did many experiments and they have established that this is a science. Behavior is a science and it can be studied under some theories, principles, and some of the rules and regulations. So they are the pioneer of this animal behavior, and the first scientist or biologist who got the Nobel Prize for their study on animal behavior. Then the animal behavior, the study progressed, and finally it has come to a stage that the animals, how do they respond to different external factors, or there are some internal regulations that that gives some kind of output which are cyclic, which are repeated at a particular interval. This is called chronobiology. This is little bit advanced animal behavior where the external and internal factors in a very synchronized manner regulate the behavior of animals. As a result, the animals they behave they do behave in a repeated way or in a cyclic way. So in a very simple way, we can say chronobiology is a field of biology that examines periodic phenomena. Remember the word periodic phenomena in living organisms and their adaptations to solar and lunar related rhythms. So the factors are solar and lunar related rhythms. So these are itself themselves are some cycles, solar cycles, lunar cycles. So with respect to these cycles, to adapt with the cycles, the animals behave in a periodic manner, and this is called chronobiology. Here you can find in Greek, chronos means time, bios means life, and logos means science. So it is a science of life with respect to time. So it is called chronobiology. Now the question is, what is biological rhythm? The biological rhythm is a natural cycle of change in our body's chemical or physiological functions. It's like an internal master clock that coordinates the other clocks in your body. So the rhythm has a center and it regulates the functions with respect to the progression of time. time in respect to some other factors like lunar time, the solar time. So whatever, it is a progression of time, and with respect to that, the physiological or chemical behavior of the body changes. As you understood now that the clock is located in the brain, it's made up of thousands of nerve cells that help sync your body's functions and activities. So brain is the master clock where the timing is set to respond to the particular factors with some behavior of the body. So biological rhythms control much of the body's normal functions, including performance, behavior, sleep, endocrine rhythms, etc. This is a very common example. Suppose you sleep in the evening or at night and get up in the morning. This is set in your body, and that is a very renowned example of biological clock. Why do we feel sleepy when it is night? Why do we feel to get up when it's morning? So that way the performance of the body, whole physiology of the body is set to get up in the morning. This is what the main outcome of the biological clock. If you see the biological clock in a very schematic manner, you will find that there are factors, say for example light, nutrition, metabolic changes, and different gastrotransmitters. So all these factors stimulate the clock and then decide the clock, and the clock runs with some ups and downs. This is the rounder clock. It goes to positive and negative, or you can say right to left. Ultimately you'll get a magnitude of the total clock timing, and finally you'll get an outcome. Where what outcomes? Say for example light or nutrition, these factors will run the clock, and the outcome is the cellular metabolism, the body temperature, some of the physical activities, maybe blood pressure or heartbeat or heart rate. So different outcomes of the body are dependent on some clocks, and these clocks are stimulated by some of the external cues. These clocks, if you just look at the progression of the clock, you will find that there are two phases in a very common way. One is night and second is day phase. During night you will get some of the activities are up and some activities are down. So you will get an amplitude of the clock, and ultimately then again you will get another amplitude of the clock. So this way the whole progression you will get as a curve. Here each biological rhythm is composed of repeating units called cycles. So this is one complete cycle. If you just make a line here, this is one complete cycle, one up and second down. These two halves will make one complete cycles. The length of the time required to complete one entire cycle is called the period. So from here, starting from this night to the end of the day, or starting from the day or to the end of the night, this portion is called one period. Then the magnitude of the change is in activity rate during a cycle. The difference between peaks and troughs is the amplitude. This is troughs. You can see the peak. This is a peak and a troughs. These two are called amplitude. And any specific recognizable part of a cycle is called a phase. Say for example, this is the sleep phase. One goes to sleep or very deep sleep during this phase. So this is called the particular recognizable part of the cycle. So when, say for example, the light is there, we have got earlier day and night cycle. Say for example, the light is there, and light is a kind of a stimulator, sometimes what happens, the whole this progression, the cycle shifts to the right. You can see this is shifting to the right, or many a times what happens, it shifts to the left. You can see this is the shifting to the left. So whole this complete cycle may shift to right or shift to left, or may shift down or may shift up, depending on the factors or cues it receives. This is the normal progression, and the others dotted lines are the shifting or the change from the normal progression. So this way the whole clock is affected, or you can understand how the clock is differing from the original pattern, depending on that different behavior may be studied. So there are three major properties. If you look at the biological clock in a very simple way, you will get three major properties. The first one is that biological rhythms have self-sustaining pacemaker mechanisms, means they start by themselves and they can adjust by themselves. So self-sustaining pacemaker, they don't require any external support or external energy to run those cycles. They have their own system, and the cycle runs once it receives the stimulus. Then they maintain normal cyclicity even in absence of environmental cues. So if sometimes environmental cue is not there, the cycle runs automatically, means it is set. The removal of the stimulus may not hamper or may not stop the cycle. In absence of that also, you'll feel you'll go to sleep. You'll feel you have to get up. But if it goes for longer time, the stimulus is removed for longer time, then some changes may come. But instantly or for a particular period, even though you remove the stimulus, the cyclicity or the normal cyclicity won't change. Then biological rhythms are genetically inherited. What does it mean? For a species, these rhythms are set. But if the species are different, the rhythms may be different. They may have different cycles. For a particular species, the cycles are almost similar. Now let us see how many types of biological rhythms are there. We can basically divide them into two groups. One is endogenous and second is exogenous. Under endogenous group, which means that with the cycles within the body, we can have 5 different biological rhythms. And under exogenous group, we don't have such classification, but we have some other factors called zeitgebers. Zeitgebers are the main regulators of exogenous factors. These are the factors that is external and that involves in starting a biological rhythm. So the first, let us discuss the endogenous rhythm. The first one is the circadian rhythm. Circadian, it means a day, 24 hours of the day. So the rhythm is matched with the 24-hour cycle. It is synced with the 24-hour cycle, that is day and night. You can see the 12 a.m., 6 a.m., 3 a.m. and 9 p.m. So if you divide these 4 groups, you will find the activities you can divide within this particular period. And the whole activities are repeated when a cycle progressed every day, every 24-hour cycle. Here you will get ultradian rhythms have a period of less than 24 hours. So the normal cycle is 24 hours. But many times what happens, the cycle is completed within a period of less than 24 hours. then it is called ultradian rhythm. And there is also infradian rhythm, where the period is more than 24 hours. So this is how we can classify the cycle day and night for our different activities. You can see the picture of some cockroach, where they understand that this is now dark cycle, the dark time, the night is there, so they can go out for food or different activities. But when the daytime comes, they hide in their different other locations. So this is how the circadian rhythm runs in cockroach. And there are different disorders, those are related to the circadian rhythm. First one is the delayed sleep phase disorder, which is a circadian rhythm disorder most common in adolescents and young adults whose night owl tendencies delay sleep onset, often until 2 a.m. or later. So this is a delayed sleep phase disorder. They never feel to go for sleeping. That circadian rhythm, which marks 12 a.m. is a time to go to sleep, or 11 a.m. is a time to go to sleep, it shifts to 2 a.m. or later. So it is a kind of a delayed sleep phase disorder. Similarly, there is advanced sleep phase disorder, which is usually seen in the elderly. What happens in this disorder? This identified by regular early evening bedtimes. So they used to go 6 p.m. or 9 p.m. to sleep, and they get up early 2 a.m. or 5 a.m. So this is a kind of advanced sleep phase disorder. Another one is jet lag. What is jet lag? It results from a conflict between the pattern of sleep and wakefulness between the internal biological clock and that of a new time zone. Individuals find it hard to adjust and functions optimally in the new time zone. Where it occurs? When you move from a place to another place. Say for you move from here to America, then you will get around 5 hours difference or 4 hour difference. So here when 6 a.m. the time is different. That time is still in the evening time, or some different time in those areas in that country. So where you may not get sleep, you may not get a sleep. If you want to go 9 p.m. here, the time is different there. So that time, a difference of behavior is called jet lag. That there is a conflict between your already set time in your body and a new time zone you are encountering in a new place. So this is how this is called jet lag. Second is the circadian rhythms. This is the cycle of high and low tides, roughly twice per day. So in a day, the cycle runs 2 times. One is high and another is low. And depending on these two cycles, the animals also behave. Sometimes the animals come up during high and they go down during low tides. So that is that's like a day and night cycle. These animals cannot feel day and night, but they can come up for 12 hours to the high and up in the water surface, and then go down in low tide during the in the water surface. So it is just like a circadian rhythm, but it is in water, which is having a tidal cycle to run at an interval of 12 hours. So here you can see an example of circadian rhythm is the Hangia. This is a diatom, and this diatom, marine diatom, that comes to the upper surface of water during the high tide, and for this 12 hours, within these 12 hours, it get the light and the photosynthesis takes place. And during the low tide, it goes down for other different purposes. So this way, it cycles between high tide and low tide, and this is the best example of circadian rhythm. This, remember that this is a diatom, is a plant hyangea, and it requires photosynthesis, and that is why it requires light. And I'm repeating, it comes up during high tide and goes down during low tide. When it comes up during high tide, it gets the light and the photosynthesis takes place. That means it prepares its own food. Then the low tide it goes down. So next one is circulunar rhythms. What is a circulunar rhythms? It's a biorhythm that corresponds with the lunar cycle, which is approximately 29.5 days. Some cycles are approximately monthly, resulting from the movement of the moon around the earth. Many times these cycles are also known as semilunar cycles, but sometimes these semilunar cycles are discussed separately. However, if you see the features, they are almost same. Circulunar cycles are monthly and semilunar cycles are fortnightly. And if you consider the two cycles at the same time, you can say this is a kind of a circulunar cycle. So what happens in circulunar cycle? In case of circulunar cycles, there are two tides. One is spring tide and another is neap tides. There you can see the spring tides and neap tide. What are spring tides? These are particularly high tides that occur twice each month when the moon and sun are in alignment. But neap tides are weaker tides. These are where there is much less difference between high and low tide. They occur when the sun and moon are perpendicular to each other and their gravitational fields have an opposing influence tides. So there you will get two different. One is spring tide and neap tide, then spring tide. So in a month you will get two spring tides, or you may get two neap tides for 30 days. So these 30 days, the animals they use 15 days as a period for an activity and the rest of the 15 days a period for another activity. Especially marine organisms are linked to changing levels of moonlight and the tidal cycle, both of which are governed by the phases of moon. One you can say Platinaris dumeri. So this has a very interesting part of breeding, and this breeding part it goes with the circulunar rhythms. During first spring it breeds and next spring it goes down. No breeding. It feeds. So this way it has some circulunar behavior. Another one is the clunio. Clunio is a chironomid from the family of Chironomidae. So this is a non-biting midge. So what happens is it lives in a rocky intertidal zone of the European Atlantic coast. It has a synchronized its life cycle with rhythmic off tides. So adults come up and takes food during the high tide, means spring tide, and low tide they go down and do other activities. So this is an example of the circulunar rhythm. As I told you, there are semilunar cycles which are nothing but the circulunar cycles. Only difference is that fortnightly cycles of spring tide and neap tide. So the examples that periwinkle, Litorina rudis, they show a marked 15-day periodicity in their locomotory activity. The species live high up and ashore and is only covered by the high water of the spring tide. The another one is circannual rhythm. It is an endogenous rhythm which is generated by the animal's body itself, and it has a period of cyclicity of approximately 1 year. So this picture is self-explanatory. You can say the migration of birds, it is of 1 year. These are the birds which having the migration, and that migration repeats every year, or that repeats for a particular period of time, but around annular annular time. So you can say Amur falcon. This is Siberia to South Africa. It comes. So this is a kind of a annular migration. Through South Africa, it comes to Northeast India. Then North America to India, winter. This blue throat bird also comes every year. The red knot, North Arctic to South America, also it repeats its behavior of migration every year. Then North America to Central and South America, and also towards Africa. They usually visit the whole area in yearly basis. So this is how the animals they follow the different circulunar cycles. So my dear students, you have got all these cycles for this endogenous biological rhythms. The next class we will study exogenous biological rhythms. Till then, thank you very much.